That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast.
ThatGreatBusinessShow.com is brought to you by De Facto Shaving Oil, the best anyone can get. Made in Ireland, sold worldwide.
Welcome to episode 89 of That Great Business Show, posting on the 27th of May 2022. I am Conal O'Moran. We had half a dozen guests with us on the last podcast, that was episode 88. Today we have a mere 5 who by accident, rather than by design, mostly hail from the sunny southeast. Shortly I'll have 2 people telling us no matter what size or sector your business is in, how best your business you should be looking when it's for sale. We have a former banker who is now Ireland's biggest pallet maker and whose job involved getting rid of the bark beetle. And the business that we know as Visa, as in Visa card, wants to give €50,000 of the crinkly stuff, real cash, and a load of business coaching to 5 early stage businesses. And by the way, if you do have any spare cash, Alice Carroll of Fox's Bow Whiskey was on to me to say that they're already at nearly €350,000 of a 500,000 raise on Crowd Cube. Alice from Limerick joined me back on episode 70 of That Great Business Show, telling me about her vision of world whiskey domination. If you're inclined to chuck a few quid at Alice, do please take some professional advice ahead of doing so. And all our great business insights and tips are brought to you, as always, thanks to our sponsor, De Facto Shaving Oil, the world's best all-natural shaving oil.
De Facto Shaving Oil, smooth as.
And we know that our so loyal listeners, that is Team GBS, like a good quiz. So here is your starter for 10. If Company X buys Company Y, should they A, back the stronger brand, B, blend the 2 brands, C, create a new brand, or D, make no change? Now, I do not know the answers to that question, but I'm hoping our first 2 guests do. They are Colin Byrne, who is creative director with Waterford-based creative agency Totem, and Stuart FitzGerald, who is managing partner at FitzGerald Power Accountants, also based in Waterford. They are here to tell you how to maximize the sale price of your business if and when you go to sell it. Colin, Stuart, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Conal. Great to be here.
My little note in front of me, Stuart, says, You're not a boring accountant. You are a huge 1990s hip-hop fan, in particular Snoop Dogg. And in fact, I just chatted to you about it about 3 minutes ago.
And you
started singing.
Purely off air, though. I wouldn't want to disrupt. your.
What are you doing to the accountancy profession? You should be
mixing it up a bit. I think it's if ever a profession needed a bit of a stir, it was ours. You know what? It's high time. I think I grew out of that particular passion.
Oh, he says that now. Oh, yeah.
You should see him breakdancing.
Well, I don't think the knees and the hips are up to it anymore, unfortunately.
Well, come here to me now. We are here to talk business, not to talk Snoop Dogg. We're talking about Snoop Dogg's business because he is rather successful.
True.
Selling. Not everybody thinks of selling their business, but I was taught once upon a time that if you are in a business, you should always have it ready for sale. Stuart, discuss.
100% correct. I mean, you never know when the market opportunity might present itself. And I think it's always important to have the business in a position that it's attractive to someone that may look to acquire. Market's been very strong the last couple of years. A lot of liquidity out there, a lot of transactions, a lot of movement, a lot of good valuations delivered as well. I think, Dennis O'Brien probably in the papers within the last 12 months saying now is a good time to sell. And this is pre all the current turbulence. So, yeah, you can never start that process early enough, Conal. And when it comes to all the unglamorous background stuff, like having contracts right, having property titles right, this property involved, having staff contracts, handbooks, having the business maximised from a profit potential point of view. And I think the piece that Colin talked about is having the brand attractive, because oftentimes brand is an important component of it. So you're right. I mean, you can never start that journey too early. And I think there's lots of other benefits. I mean, you're talking about getting the fundamentals of your business right and in good order. And I think the natural corollary of that is if you're doing everything as you should be doing it, then you're an attractive proposition for someone who's consolidating in your market.
Now, brand. A lot of people listening are saying, we don't have a brand, we've a small business. But Colin, every business is a brand.
Correct. And I think it's a word that is misunderstood a lot of the time, particularly, in SMEs. And your brand is your reputation. And I know that you've got Jeff Bezos here on speed dial, Conal, and
you've been listening.
I have. Apparently, you're next up for Blue Origin, I heard. So, but
in his dreams, ain't doing that.
But he says, your reputation is what people say when you're not in the room. So, from a branding perspective, it's what your customers or your potential customers say about your business, your service, or your product when you're not there.
And that could be Mrs. Murphy's corner shop.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. It's correct for every business because it's all about customer loyalty. It's about building customer loyalty. And that's really what the brand is all about. When you look at any business and you look at the DNA, that double helix structure, there's two parts to that, the business and the brand. And under the business side, that's all about the company goals, regardless of the size of the company. So it is, what's the purpose? Why are you in business? What do you exist to do? What's your vision? Where are you going? Where are you driving it? The values and the culture within the business. So that's all on one side. And on the second side, which is the brand, underneath that is the customer goals. So it's about, what do they want from your business or your service? What need are you serving? What problem are you solving for them? What does it say about them if they choose your business? It's about their customer identity. So the business purpose and the customer identity need to align. And once those two sides of the business in that DNA model, the bars that come across and join and make it stronger, then you have a really strong, viable business for the future.
Now, answer me truthfully, both of you. Have both of you stopped your business, taken time out, and have you done as Colin has just described? Colin?
Yes.
Did you take a day off, a half a day, an hour, or what?
No, it was over a period of time, and I suppose it amounted to the guts of a week over a couple of years. But in 2016, 2017, my mind from COVID is, that the years are blurring now. But we moved really into this brand agency space, and we kind of left that service-driven graphic design company behind because we felt that this is really where we wanted to nail our colours to the mast. It's where all our skills kind of coalesced around the strategic kind of thinking that goes into it, as well as that creative magic then. Once you kind of understand the business, what makes it tick, what makes it different, how do you then visualize that in a way that you can communicate to attract those customers back in?
And Stuart, have you done the same?
Yeah, we have. I think we were always quite clear as to what we did, how we did it, why there was a value proposition, but we were not very good at communicating it. So we actually hired Totem maybe 2 years ago, and that was a process that went on for maybe 6-9 months to just really get under the skin as to, articulating what we do and why we do it. And it was a great process, and we learned a lot about our business and about ourselves, and it's kind of evolved from there.
And explain to me what that process was. So, first of all, a phone call to Colin. Hey, Colin. Did you know each other beforehand?
No, we didn't. So we actually ran, our marketing team ran a fairly wide process in terms of identifying the right partner. So I think we might have spoken to maybe 8 or 9 agencies, typical accountants fashion. I mean, Jesus Christ, if ever there was diligence done, you know what I mean? And then just found a really good fit. And it wasn't, the local factor actually didn't come into play because it was during the height of COVID. So everything was over virtual meetings anyway. So what's the process look like? I think, Colin will tell you better now, but I think it involved a diagnostic at the start, understanding what we were about, what our brand was about, where we added value, and just slowly working with the team to tease that out and articulate.
But if I were really rude, and I can be,
go for it.
You're an accountancy firm. Mm-hmm. You're like a lot of other accountancy firms.
Yeah.
How do you stand apart? It is obviously about the individuals. Mm-hmm. People will like you, so they'll do business with you. Mm-hmm. But the underlying business is adding up numbers or making sure that they all tot up correctly.
Mm-hmm. But there's more to it than that, right? It's really about adding value. And that's what Totem helped to draw out, and that became our tagline. But it's about adding value in every single engagement. And whether that's something that we do in the pro bono space, we do work with the likes of Hometree on a pro bono basis, or whether it's a transaction, or whether it's an ongoing management information type service where you're reporting back strong KPIs that decision making can be pitched against. I think it's all about unlocking value for the client, identifying value and adding value in every engagement. And that's really where it became.
But is that value add, again, I'm being rude, just another way of bumping up the invoice is that you say, you see something obvious that they're not doing. Why don't you go and, build Nissan huts or something? And you've spotted that.
Yeah.
And therefore you invoice them for that.
Not really, because first of all, it's such a competitive space now that if people felt they weren't getting value for money, they'd be quick to move. And I don't think anybody has any qualms about that. So it's not like 20, 30 years ago when professional services, it was basically, you had to mess up. It was a job for life. I think it's moved on a lot from that. It's very dynamic. And I think as well, if you can actually identify something and if you can bring it to a client, particularly in a transaction, right? So if you're able to unlock and identify underlying profit drivers, bring that into the table, pitch it in the information memorandum, convince the counterparty on the other side that there's extra value in this, and then get a deal over the line that's maybe 15, 20% higher than than what the client expectation was on price. I think you've added a huge amount of value in that case. And I think in those circumstances, people are very comfortable. Every fee has to be fair, right? Has to be seen as value for money. But once it is, I think people do, the people we work with, what's key for us, and maybe we're going off on a tangent here, but what's key for us is to work with clients who are really serious about their business, who really are passionate about it. They're passionate entrepreneurs. They want to make it better. They want good advice. They take your advice. They're inquisitive. They're intelligent. They want to understand the problems. They want you to help them diagnose them, and they want to grow the business. And when you're in those sort of environments, I think people are more focused on the outcome rather than necessarily what the invoice says. Once it's seen as being fair and value for money.
Your company name is FitzGerald Power. Colin, did you suggest to them that they change that to something totemic? Get it?
I do, yes.
Very terrible, wasn't it?
No,
Snoop
I didn't.
Dogg would have been proud of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's a huge amount of legacy in the name, and it was Stuart's dad was one of the founders, you know what I mean? So it's a family business, and that was never up for grabs. And even if it was, I would have told him to stick with it.
But just something more like, orange, blue or something like that. Does that not sound
You
more...
have a point, though, because it's a very unoriginal name, and everyone in our sector, it tends to be a combination of names that make up the brand. So
what's even funnier, it doesn't matter how much money EY has spent on trying to be EY, everybody still calls them Ernst & Young.
Yeah, true.
Or in Ireland, Ernest and Young.
True. So it's, I think we probably didn't go there because we felt that there was a lot of brand recognition within the sectors that we operated in. But I mean, maybe that's just the accountant's mindset where we're not far enough down the spectrum of creativity to really consider something like, I don't know, blue-orange. Is that what you...
That's an idea, but I'll send on the invoice now. Now. Let me go back to the original question there. When Company A buys Company B, Colin, do you stick the two together, as a brand, or do you dump one? Because it seems to me that dumping brands seems to be a thing, particularly amongst marketing people. Aircom became Air. And I can't remember which way have they got the big E and the small E now? I can never remember which way.
Yeah. It really depends on the two companies involved. And it really, it comes back to that customer-centric piece. I suppose the first question is why are they merging, or why is one buying the other? And once you've established that, then it's really looking at who are the customers, what needs are they serving, what services do they have? And if both of those are aligned, so if they're in a similar space with similar customers, then you need to, then they need to join. And there's a couple of ways of doing that. Like the stronger brand is establishing which one is stronger, which has, better recognition in the marketplace that they're playing in. And then obviously that would become the main brand. If that isn't the case, you can blend. I think I suppose the clearest example of that was the two American oil companies about 10 or 15 years ago, Exxon and Mobil. They joined, so it's Exxon Mobil. So that is an option. And then it's down, the next one down is, do you create something new, or do you just leave the two alone? And again, it really depends on the situation and the companies involved. And they're the four main kind of ways to do it. But within each of those...
Who determine that, as in what is the best choice? Because Kind of sounds like a chat over a few drinks or something, doesn't it?
Not really. And I think Stuart would bring a huge amount of the science to it in terms of...
Unlikely.
The tangible kind of assets and, understanding what the value
Stuart
is.
goes off and buys KPMG, but you've just told me...
I'll raid the piggy bank on it.
You've just told me that people are buying into Stuart and the FitzGerald Power name.
Yeah.
So... do you dump KPMG? No.
No, well, I suppose is Stuart buying KPMG or KPMG buying Stuart?
Well, I was thinking about Stuart buying KPMG. Otherwise, it's a bit obvious what happens.
To the point, though, that Colin is making, and I'm not a branding expert now, this is purely from a financial perspective, there doesn't seem to be hard and fast rules. So yes, brands are often subsumed by other brands. But so when someone like me or our company is trying to determine the value of an asset before you bring it to market, there's all the bits that are easy to value, right? All the, the profit drivers and the EBITDA multiples and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at a transaction like Musgrave's acquisition of Donnybrook Fair, right? So there would have been undoubtedly an element of the consideration that focused on the brand there. So yes, there was the units. Yes, there's the unit level profitability. Yes, there was the contribution to group EBITDA, all that kind of stuff. But really what was driving that transaction in my mind, or as far as I can see as an outsider looking in, was that it was a nice bolt-on it was a nice premium bolt-on to the existing business. So it brought them into a different market, And in that instance, the brand obviously demanded some sort of a premium, and was strategically important for Musgraves. And you do see examples of it. And that piece is very difficult to quantify, That would have undoubtedly led to another turn in EBITDA, for example,
Now, that unfortunately, you've just kind of stymied my next question, because I know that those brands do have a value. Who determines that value? Is it a finger in the air? Because again, I have a background in broking. We used to talk about this a lot. It is very subjective.
It's subjective. But you know what?
But there must be somebody has to listen to somebody else.
But there's an awful lot of subjectivity anyway when it comes to valuations. To be honest, your view of what an asset is worth might be different to what my view of an asset is worth, and it comes back to your expected payback period. It comes back to the cost of the capital that's going into it. I mean, and when it comes to the intangible pieces like brand, I think you make a calculus, like Musgraves would have made a calculus that within their system, having that brand as part of it will have added something. But, how scientific that calculus can get, I don't really know. And you do so that's not the only example of it that you've seen on the island in recent years. If you look at Unifar's acquisition of Hickey's, for example, so Paddy Hickey's business was the largest indigenous pharmacy chain at that time.
How many units do you remember?
40. And Unifar were running 2 existing brands at that stage, All Care, which they were operating directly, as well as the franchise element, and Life Pharmacy, which was a Simba Group offer. And I think, you may have assumed that Hickey's would have been rebranded as either All Care or Life, but the reality is that they ran it out as Hickey's because they saw it, I guess, and again, as an outsider looking in, I guess they saw value in what Paddy and his team had created, and having another heritage Irish brand as part of the portfolio made sense to them. So I don't think, like Colin will know better, but I don't think there's necessarily prescriptive game plan when you go into a process like that. And I think if there is value in the brand, you'd be mad not to try to lever it in some way.
And to live with it for a couple of years, presumably, and then see what should we do now, Colin? Yeah,
the brand equity piece is interesting, and it kind of breaks down into 3 areas, and how you kind of quantify it and value it. And the first is differentiation. So how different is the business in terms of what it's offering? The second part is awareness. How aware are the customers around that differentiation, and is it meaningful for them? And thirdly, then, are those customers prepared to pay a premium for that product or service? And then there is that kind of scientific calculus to establish that. And I suppose the easy way to try and picture it for the listeners is Coca-Cola is the easy example, because everybody can visualize the bottle. And if you poured out half that we've just drunk half, so the bottom half of the bottle, which is filled with Coke, that's the tangible assets. And the top half, which is now filled with air, is the brand equity. So you're buying the whole bottle. But the brand equity in Coke's case is valued at 50%. So Coke, I think last year was around $90 billion US. So the brand equity for them is 45 million. And that's the piece that you can't touch, you can't put your finger on. It's on a balance sheet. It is real, but it lives between the two ears of their customers.
It is a fascination, isn't it?
It is totally fascinating because in some ways it's fairy dust, but it's worth 45 billion US in Coke's case. Now, when you go to Microsoft, I think that drops to 20% in terms of their brand equity, but it varies from company to company. And I suppose that's kind of back to the original question, which option do you choose in terms of who takes over who, or do you blend or do you not? And that's really where you kind of need to tailor and customize and really evaluate case by case.
I hope KPMG takes the Coca-Cola view of the world when they come down to Waterford to buy FitzGerald Power, is kind of the suggestion they're about to. Oh no, it was me buying them actually. Sorry, we'll have to reverse it.
And remember, you're going to pay an extra 45 billion.
Well, we could reverse it. There's a reverse synergy because we have to rebrand it as FitzGerald Power.
I did take a nice little quote, Colin, off your website, which I thought was useful to discuss. People no longer buy brands; they join them. They see the brands they choose as a reflection of who they are and what they stand for. By understanding and authentically living your brand purpose, you act as a magnet for like-minded consumers, people who believe in what you exist to do, your tribe. I like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a nice quote as well from Marty Neumeier. But yeah, it's back to my point that a business purpose, why you exist, needs to align with the customer identity, so which is your brand. So it's really understanding your customers, what need you're serving, what problem you're solving for them, and then it's how do you attract those like-minded people, and that's why leading with your purpose. I think it's Simon Sinek said, "People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it." And
but is that actually true? You're hungry, you go into Tesco, you buy a sandwich and you walk out again. It's kind of pretty mindless.
Why are you going to Tesco and maybe not Marks and Spencer's?
Because they're next door.
So, I think that's a functional response to you being hungry and where's the nearest place. But, when you're looking at maybe more, I suppose, larger purchases when it comes to a house, a car, or who you're going to do business with, particularly in tech, who you're going to have to look after your business in that regard. Who do you trust? It becomes a little bit more mission critical then, rather than kind of a flippant, will I have a sandwich, or, will I go to McDonald's? So I think that's really where it kicks in, and it's very, very strong.
And do both of you buy on brand? Say, you've just mentioned, Colin, there, tech. When you're buying tech, Stuart, for your office, do you choose whatever, Apple over HP or Dell or whatever?
I'm not generally involved in the tech purchase decision, so I don't. I think they just.
Cars.
I think
go
they just
for
go.
Cars.
I do. I will be quite brand loyal, so I do. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Whatever the category is, I tend to stay within certain brand parameters. Okay.
That's not very commercially sensible.
Potentially not. And maybe it's just like the path of least resistance. You've had a good experience, then just the mind goes there, and it's you get the consumer piece over and done with. I don't know.
But it's back to that tribe piece that that Conal mentioned. You know what I mean? That you've had a good experience. That business or service or the car hasn't let you down. It's added to your life in some way, shape or form, and you've really enjoyed it. So you're going back, you're trading it in, and you're going to trade up, or you're going to get another one. You're going to stay with them because you've enjoyed it. And it's really around that customer loyalty. That's actually what builds brands. So the business actually technically needs to design the customers. So it's how you attract the customers that you want. Those customers in turn build your brand through loyalty, but also through advocacy and social media. And then the brand then in turn attracts more customers. So it's that cyclical thing.
How many are employed in your operation, Stuart?
45.
Okay. At what size is it starting to look at brand? And two people selling newspapers from a corner shop, Colin, are very unlikely to have to think brand.
I would disagree. I think when you think about it, like your name, the name of a business is integral to it. I think it was George Bernard Shaw who said it's important to be born well. So I think your name is critical. It's the first way that you're going to differentiate and stand out. Are you going to be another corner store selling newspapers, or how are you going to differentiate? So I think the first one is definitely your name. And that in turn then leads into your identity. And then you start to think about the values or how you're actually going to differentiate, this corner shop from the one, at the next corner. So I think it is integral to all businesses. I'm not saying that all business people think this way, but in actual fact, they should really be,
And take time out to do that, is it?
I think it's important, particularly at the outset. It's really important to understand what it is that you're offering. I know I keep going back to the customers, but ultimately that's why any business is in business, is to serve a need. And it's to understand what that happens to be, who those customers are, why they're going to choose you over the other corner store. And so once you really get into that and understand that, I think a lot of things become clear. And Stuart, that was the process that we kind of went on with yourselves. It was really having that clear picture of your customer zero. What is it that they want? What need are we?
And was there any eureka moment that Colin pointed out to you that you hadn't realised, Stuart, about your own business? You said, yeah. Anything like that?
There was more than one, I think. I think what they helped us to do is to get really, really clear about what the customer proposition was and why we were doing it. I think we were, in broad terms, we knew what we were about, but in terms of actually putting that down on paper or sitting in front of someone and actually explaining it, I think we were miles away from it. So yes, there absolutely was. Like when they came back with the tagline, adding value always, and talked through, how they had constructed that and what it meant in the context of our business. I think that was a bit of a, oh yeah, kind of moment, But there was lots. I mean, it was a really, really enjoyable experience. And I think it was kind of a kick-off to loads of other stuff that we've done since.
And you are continually hiring, like the rest of the world.
We are.
And when somebody does become part of your team, are they given a little pep talk about adding value always?
It's interesting that you bring it up because I think the next step that we're in the middle of at the moment is we just hired a head of people and culture. And that cultural onboarding piece and getting people really ingrained in the brand, what we're about, who we serve, why we do it, how people fit in, what's important to us as a company. I don't think we've been in the same way in terms of our external communication before we worked with Totem. I think up until recently, we haven't been as focused on getting that absolutely spot on. So to answer your question, yes, there is an onboarding process at the moment. I'm expecting that to be significantly better over the next 6 to 9 months as this new head of people and culture comes into the business. And that's really important because I know this is kind of trite and people say it all the time, but in our business, there literally is nothing else of value other than the people in the business. Right?
I would so agree with you. Yeah. And that is kind of part of my question to Colin there about the differentiation. Because when you walk out the door, that's the value just headed into the car going home or going off to play a game of golf or something.
Yeah.
So I often wonder about where real value is. When KPMG comes to buy you, you can walk out the door. It happened when I should explain, when we were stockbroking, ABN AMRO, a bank, bought our stockbroking firm. And guys left immediately.
Yeah.
Never made any sense to me.
It is part of the problem with professional services in terms of delivering asset value at the point of an exit, that so much of the goodwill and knowledge is tied up in the principles. There's no doubt about that in the team. And it's why you often see earnouts as part of those deals. But I think certainly what we're looking to do is to create real deep sector specialization that actually has, real value. And however that looks in the future, I don't really know. But, it's certainly where the focus of the business is. So the idea is that regardless of who you deal with in FitzGerald Power, whether it's me or any of the rest of the team, the service is absolutely identical and consistent. And because we know the sectors that we work in so well, that depth of knowledge just isn't matched anywhere else. That's the idea.
Last words to both of you about your own businesses, because you may as well get a little bit of an ad out here. Stuart, where are you going to bring the business, say, over the next 3 to 5 years?
We'd expect to double again over the next 3 to 5 years. So we doubled
90 people.
Yeah, so we doubled over the last 3 years. We'd expect to double again.
Where are you going to get all these people? Nobody in your business could find anybody to join.
That is going to be a challenge. There is no doubt about it. That is undoubtedly going to be a challenge, and it's one that any high growth business has to deal with. And I think it's why we have to get all of that internal messaging around culture so spot on and become really, really attractive in the way that we are to clients, to become increasingly attractive to people who want to join the business. But you're right. I mean, going from 45 to 90 people will not happen without some challenge along the way.
And Colin, where are you going to bring Totem?
I think to keep on the trajectory that we're on, which is we're back growing again. We've got 8 core people on the team. We operate on a collaborative model. So as and when projects come in, we bring the experts in and we assemble the team and we work our way through it. So I think it is to keep doing.
Do you remember Mission Impossible? Do you remember the very beginning of the TV series? He used to flick through photographs and, yeah, we'll have him. We don't want him. Sorry
like
to
that,
interrupt.
but I like the reference. I'll have to get out my Rolodex now when I go back and start that. So I think it is, and I think it's to keep working on these strategic branding projects. We've got some interesting ones in the pipeline. So it's really exciting because you really get to get your head under different types of businesses, see how they tick, meet people like Stuart. And I think that kind of helps, give a great, rounded, holistic picture in business for me and our team as well.
And you know what I love? Both of you are based in Waterford. And I think I saw on both of your websites that you are doing international business. Correct, Stuart?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Into where?
The UK.
Yeah. And is Totem...
Yes, we have States.
That's mad, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah.
There are no boundaries.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, yeah. And it's interesting, we're doing a global web project for a pharmacy company at the moment. And on teams, we've got 2 from the US, 2 from France, 2 from Ireland. And it's great. And I think that was one of the real positives out of COVID is that... the technology really kind of kicked in. So we use Microsoft Teams and it's brilliant. It's amazing. Like you'd never be able to have a meeting like that pre-COVID. Sorry, you could have, but people weren't used to it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's just...
We hadn't met at all. Like we didn't... The entire duration of our project with Totem, we didn't meet face to face. That was 9 months.
Stuart Colin.
9 months plus. I mean, it was incredible,
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And I don't think it didn't affect any of the...
It was more efficient, to be honest.
It was way more efficient. I think the only thing about it, and we were just chatting about it before we came up, Conal, was that I think at the start and the end of the process, it's great to meet in person. But in the middle of it, it's way more efficient to do it on Zoom or Teams.
Final question. We always ask this question. Hire in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Stuart. Oh, good. He read the email.
There was an email?
Who would Stuart hire in a heartbeat?
Does it have to be a real person?
No.
Well, then it would be
Snoop Dogg.
then it would be Princess Poppy from Trolls World Tour.
Okay,
moving swiftly along. Colin, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Well,
I don't think he's right.
It's all the breakdancing kind of went to his head. I think, and you read a quote from him earlier, I would say Marty Neumeier. I did a couple of online courses with him over COVID. He is a branding guru from the States. He's written quite a few books on the subject. And I think one that your listeners might be interested in is his book called ZAG. It's on differentiation, radical differentiation. And I think it's in the top 100 business books of all time. It's really a great read for anybody who's interested in business. It's very insightful, very short, very punchy. So, yeah.
I feel like he's done his homework much better than me. Maybe I should change mine to Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great. One of the two, a blend of Princess Pop. Jim Collins. Jim Collins. You must have read that book. Have you? Good to Great?
I don't read any of these books, but I do.
You should check that one out. That is a classic.
Both of you should have a good look at a guy from the States called Bob Hoffman. Do you ever read Bob Hoffman?
No.
He's the angriest man in marketing. He is so funny. He rips marketing apart, particularly digital marketing. And you can get his email, his weekly email, I think it's weekly, free of charge. If nothing else, if he doesn't change your mind about digital marketing, he'll at least make you laugh. Bob Hoffman, well worth a read.
Check it out.
Yeah, please do. That was Colin Byrne, Creative Director with Totem, and Stuart FitzGerald, Managing Partner with FitzGerald Power Accountants, all from Waterford. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you so
Conal.
much.
Make one small switch. Switching from shaving foam to all-natural de facto shaving oil will give you the smoothest, softest shave ever. Switching from shaving oil to de facto helps stop 20 million non-recyclable shaving foam cans go to landfills every year. Switching from shaving oil to de facto will save your skin, your pocket, and your planet. defactoshave.com.
Everyday accounting can be a bit of a drama for SMEs. However, BigRedCloud.com takes the drama away with its simple and easy to use cloud-based accounting and payroll software designed for SME owners. Raise and send invoices, manage VAT reports and obligations, run management reports, link directly to Irish banks, automatically import purchase invoices, and so much more. All with 5-star customer support. BigRedCloud.com, 100% Irish owned and a proud member of Team GBS.
All that great business show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
Backing great women-led businesses on every show. That Great Business Show.
My next guest makes a living out of burning the living daylights out of bark beetles. Well, that's part of what you have to do if you want to become Ireland's biggest pallet makers. And it's another unforeseen consequence of Brexit. We will explain all of that later. Mary Walsh, known to friends as Mary B, is co-founder of Irewell Pallets, based in Gorey, County Wexford. A former banker, she and her husband took to making pallets 32 years ago, as you do. They've already put €4.5 million into the business in the past 3 years, and they're planning on investing more, far more. As well as running her business, Mary is also a voluntary lead entrepreneur on the Acorns programme that encourages early-stage female entrepreneurs living in rural Ireland to get into business. Mary Walsh, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Hello, Conal. Delighted to be here. Absolutely delighted to be on the Great Business Show. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome, and thanks for driving up. Now, I read a comment from you that will resonate with anyone in business. You said, my husband Shay and I thought it was a mistake to refuse any business. A little bit of history there was a family timber business, milling, and people were asking you to do extras, and the family said, no thanks. But you said, yes, please. It really does resonate with anybody in business. You feel, I've got to hold on to that business. I've got to do a little bit extra, etc.
Absolutely, Conal. But I do think that the family made the right decision at the time to say no. They stuck to the knitting. They stuck to what they knew.
And they made you go into business on your own.
Shay and I were listening and toying with the idea and thinking, no, it is a mistake to maybe say no to that business. There was 3 brothers in the family with Shay's father, and Shay thought, maybe this place is not big enough for all of us. Cutting that long story short, Shay and I both come from a family of business backgrounds. We always wanted to have our own business.
What was your business background?
My own family, farming and rental property business. I
always say it, farmers are never recognised as being the entrepreneurs that they are. I mean, they are entrepreneurs, pure and simple.
Oh, yes, they are. They are indeed, yeah, they are. And they have to, and even more so now, they must run their business like a business to survive.
Ireland's biggest pallet maker. That's a claim.
Yes. Most successful, I would think, because we listen to the customer. And when we started from a zero base in 1990, we listened to the customer. We understood what they wanted, because there was a gap at that time that maybe some customers felt they were not listened to and they were not getting what they required, and they were growing rapidly. We listened and we did 2 simple things. We listened to them, we gave them what they wanted, and we gave it to them on time.
Now, it's only stupid people like me who would ask this question or say the following. A pallet is a pallet is a pallet.
Indeed, a pallet is a pallet, Conal, but it can never be looked on as independent of its load. Its load will not get to its destination without that transit piece. So we're very critical. The pallet manufacturer is very critical in the supply chain. And that was really highlighted during the pandemic. We were, immediately, we were essential service. We were there on the front line. Yeah, we were indeed. We were very proud to do it. And our team, I'm only one of a team, in Irewell Pallets. Our team were there during the pandemic to ensure that the supply chain of food, medical devices, pharmaceutical products kept moving globally. So it's really essential, and it's never deemed to be and should never be seen independent of its load. It's an integral part of its load.
And I do understand that nothing can shift without sitting on a pallet. It's kind of obvious when you say it, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
But what makes you better, besides talking to your customers, what makes your pallets better? Because you put a lot of thinking into the futures of pallets.
We do. And again, that's something we started in the 1990s. There was no shop window in Ireland to look at pallet manufacturing. So we did a lot of travelling in Germany, in Sweden, Holland, looking at the best, benchmarking ourselves against the best.
Hang on a second now. Did you go off on your bicycles, the two of you, and you go to Germany or whatever and knock on doors, or how did you do that?
We knocked on doors, but we also were fortunate. We joined TIMCON, which is the UK Pallet and Packaging Association in the UK. And through that association, we developed great friendships and great contacts throughout Europe, throughout the UK indeed. And they're very dear friends of ours today. And indeed, in 2015, the TIMCON board invited me on board. They asked me in 2014, and for some reason that was a busy year. I didn't join in 14, but I did in 15.
And are you still on that board?
I'm still on that board, and delighted to be on it. So we're at the forefront of whatever is happening in pallet and packaging worldwide. TIMCON is there. And is guiding the industry and helping the industry. So it's through those contacts that we then moved out into Europe to the biggest and the best in Europe.
And go back to the early days. You're cycling around, yourself and Shay are cycling around Germany looking at pallets. That's industrial spying, you know.
No. Our good European friends never looked on us as spies. They always welcomed us, and still do to this day, welcomed us with open arms, sharing their knowledge. Indeed, we share ours now with them. And we work together on a number of different projects. And maybe where they have a customer in Berlin and that sister company is in Portlaoise, we can work together on supplying efficiently our customers.
And how do you work together? Do you have a profit share, or how do you?
No. If they have a sister company in we'll say Portlaoise, we can supply that company and absolutely looking after carbon footprint rather than the pallet coming from Berlin. It'll come from Wexford.
I was going to say it was a brotherhood, but it's a sisterhood.
It's a sisterhood. And brother. I've great brothers in the industry as well. I like balance, Conal, and I wouldn't like it to be all female or all male, so balance is wonderful. And
talk to me about my aforementioned bark beetle and Brexit. This was a big issue.
It was. It certainly was. When our good friends in the UK decided to vote out of Europe into June 2016, we immediately set about a plan. We got our own team together and set out a plan. How are we going to manage this? It was a wee challenge. How are we going to manage it? And we had a number of suppliers in the UK, and we thought it might be better to source those same materials in Europe. It might be easier to work with a European company. We still have some suppliers in the UK, not as many. We've reduced that.
I just keep looking at that, and we keep hearing that on this podcast. Nuts. Like, they have destroyed their own economy. You know,
look at! I still think they're a great economy.
Conal, they are, and they're nice people and all the good stuff.
Yes, they are.
But talk about knocking your own head off a wall.
It does seem, at the time, it seemed very strange. I did not believe it. I'll always remember waking up that morning thinking I had heard the wrong news bulletin, or it was a joke, and I was waiting for the joke, and it didn't come, and it was true. They had voted out.
2016. That's 6 years ago.
Yes.
It's still kind of bubbling along. So back to the bark beetle and Brexit. What did it mean? Why was the bark beetle involved?
Yes, what it means is the UK are now outside the EU, so all timber packaging movements outside of the EU must be heat treated. And that means wood packaging material must be heated up to 56 degrees for 30 minutes to ensure that any inhabitants on board are eliminated. Now that the UK are outside of the EU, all timber packaging going to the UK must be heat treated. So that was another part of our plan in 16, that we need to increase our kiln drying capacity, which we did. In 2015, we had 2 kilns. We increased that a year later to 3. And in 2018, we increased it again up to 5. So again, that was a gamble. But we believed our good neighbours and friends in the UK that when they said they were out of Europe, we believed they were going out of Europe. So we had now the capacity to heat treat and kill and dry the increased demand that would come from exporting to the UK.
So you're now a Brexiteer. You're trying to keep them out of Europe in case they come back in again.
Oh, they're always welcome. They're always welcome back.
During this time, though, you also did, with our good friend Paula Fitzsimons, the Going for Growth programme, didn't you?
I did. I was very fortunate, Conal. Paula rang me in 2014 and asked me if I would participate on that programme.
And how did she spot you, and why?
Conal, to this day, I don't know, but somebody spoke to somebody who spoke to somebody and who whispered in Paula's ear, and she is an amazing lady. She's absolutely amazing lady. She's known the length and breadth of Ireland, north, east, south and west. She's a wonderful champion of female entrepreneurs, but also with her starting strong and with immigrants returning home, male and female entrepreneurs. She's a wonderful champion, supporter. She just seems to be there at the right time. She is a wonderful listener. She can spot opportunities, and she can spot where somebody needs that bit of help to get them to the next level, whether it's scaling or growing, developing. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. I was very fortunate to meet her.
So tell me what it meant for you. What did it do for you personally and for your business to have participated on that programme?
In 2014, we were coming out of the financial crisis that had happened.
The other recession. Before the other recession.
That's right. The other one. Coming out of that. And we were coming out of it strong and encouraged by our strength and our growth. We were coming out at that time, in fact, investing in kiln and drying technology. Where before that we were buying kiln and dry material from our good sawmill suppliers, but we wanted more control over our stock. We wanted more control over our quality. So we decided we'd, again, looking at our European friends, we would purchase our own kilns and do that work in-house. So it was a time where we could see great opportunity, and we were quietly confident coming out of the recession. A lot of our good friends had different experiences coming out of it, but our company was coming out stronger and better than we went into it. And the programme is called Going for Growth. And we had a burning desire to go for growth.
Now, who had you and Shay, or who was burning?
Shay,
who was burning most?
I'd say the equal burning, and we have a great team. We have a great team back in Irwell as well. The growth and development, we started from a zero base in 1990 with 3 people. We now have 53, and that's teamwork, Conal. That's not down to any one person. So there was a real burning desire across the organisation to grow and develop. And every step we have taken, every move we have made, thankfully, have been in the right direction. And we did an awful lot of things right in the 90s. I'd love to sit here and tell you we knew exactly what we were doing. Sure, we didn't know it all, but they actually, every single one of them were all the right thing.
And who was giving you that kind of advice?
We were following gut. We were listening to customers. Listening to customers was a lot of it. We were partnering with them. They were telling us what they needed, what they couldn't get in the market. So we were growing with them.
I had Colette Toomey of Clonakilty Puddings on about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she uses a phrase, opportunity and instinct, and it is kind of what you're talking about there as well.
Yes. And the gut, that gut feeling as well. And to go back to Shay and myself, we're both from a business background. So this came natural to us. It came natural to us. This was the way forward. We like being busy. We're busy people. We like that. We enjoy that.
And because you are busy, you insist on paying it forward, as the Americans call it. You are a participant you are a voluntary lead entrepreneur on the Acorns program. What does the Acorns program, in your view, deliver?
What it delivers is a boardroom, Conal, for a young entrepreneur. She's sitting at a table with 7 other participants.
She doesn't have to be young. I've met some of them who are not quite that young.
Not quite that young, but they now have a boardroom they couldn't afford, a board they couldn't afford. And together with a facilitator, a lead, they can throw out their woes, their wins, their concerns out at that table, and they can get feedback. They can get other opinions. And sometimes there's tears because maybe their idea is the wrong one and they might be told that by their board. But that's wonderful. There's no time wasted then. Pivot, do something else, change it, improve it, but don't make a mistake. Your board are pointing out a few things here.
Do you, as lead entrepreneur, give them a little bit of tough talk?
I do, gently, because I do believe people have to make their own mistakes as well. And if it's their dream, if it's in their gut, Conal, it might not be wrong the direction they're going in. They just might need just a little bit of tailing left or right, or maybe a slow down, or maybe an accelerate, maybe do something faster. And to be there to guide them. But they know their business best as well. And us leads, we're integral to the programme for sure, but we're there to facilitate. And we're not experts. We have a number of, we've chocolate makers, we've jewellery makers, we've dress designers, we've app developers, we've across a range of businesses. So we're not experts in all of those, but we can certainly guide them and share knowledge and learnings that we have had over some of us 20, 30 years. All of the entrepreneurs have started their own business and are still running them successfully. So we can share those experiences with the entrepreneurs, and delighted to do so. I learned from them as well. They're amazing. They're amazing. Wonderful. 350 now have participated on the programme.
Oh, that's great.
It's
Isn't
wonderful.
That great? Yeah.
It's a great community. Yeah. Great buzz, great energy. And they're now trading with one another. They're buying, they're selling. It's fantastic. It's a movement, Conal. It's wonderful. It's absolutely, and all started by Paula Fitzsimons, Fitzsimons Consulting, and supported by the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine. They're wonderful. They're still continuing to support the programme. Conal, it wouldn't survive without them. And it reaches out to every corner of Ireland. That's what I love about it.
It's particularly aimed at rural females, correct?
Yes, outside the municipal boundaries of Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Galway.
And there's another programme starting very soon, I think.
There is.
Well, you better shout it out. I don't know what the dates are, but...
No, it's the call will come out in August. And if anybody has started a business, or say 2 years in business, or if they have made concrete steps towards starting a business, they should register, they should apply on www.acorns.ie. The call will come out in August. I think it's closing around mid-September, so get out there.
But August is,
yes,
find out about it now.
Yeah, find out about it now. It's, Paula could get 500 participants applying. There's only 50 places.
Well, what's the top tip if you're trying to get onto the programme? What would you say to somebody? Use this little tip that I learned about how to win to get onto the programme.
Fill out the form completely.
Do you mean that people don't fill out the forms completely?
No, if you are employing somebody, put it down. If you're not, put that down also. If you have a turnover, put that down. Just don't leave any blanks, because that helps then the people that are choosing 50 out of 500. It's really difficult, and it's always a very difficult process because you're leaving and you're conscious you're leaving over 400 behind.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
And you'd love to help them.
You would. You'd love to bring them all.
Yeah.
You'd love, because they're great, some great businesses, really good, great businesses.
I love that the buzz, as you say, of chatting to business people who are, some of them are half mad, of course, but they get there. They want to get there, and they drive.
They do.
Yeah,
they
do. Want to walk through concrete walls.
Yeah.
Speaking of, get back to Irwell Pallets, the future, what does it look like to you?
It looks very bright. It looks good, because we're a sustainable business, sustainable packaging. You can recycle, reuse, repair a pallet.
Did I see, maybe I'm wrong on this, have you got plastic pallets as well?
No, but from time to time, our customers will ask us for 10 or 15 or 20 pallets, maybe plastic pallets they might use in-house in their production. And we'll source them for them without a problem. But our customers are not shipping on plastic.
It's all timber still.
Yes, it is.
And will be, I hope, yeah.
Yes, I think so. Because we challenge ourselves too, Conal. We challenge the pallet, and what's next, and we want to be there, what next is.
Only on that great business show would you hear a phrase, we challenge the pallet.
Yes, we do. It was designed in the 60s to carry its load. It still looks pretty much the same. It's got a top deck, it's got some blocks and boards so that you can get underneath and pick up your load with your forklift. It's heat treated now, it's kiln dried and may have some special markings, and there's certain pallets that are pool pallets now that are licensed. But in the main, it's one of the most interesting. I find it an amazing product. You look at a telephone, you look at your mobile phone, your house phone, your TV, all the features, your car, all the features they have, additional features and how they've changed. The pallet hasn't changed a huge amount. I love pallets. I just think they're wonderful.
I love people like you who enthuse about a pallet.
I do. I love them. I absolutely love them. They're the resilience, but they're user friendly. You can keep using them, and at end of life, we use them then as wood chip to fuel our kilns. So we don't use fossil fuels. We've never done. We're the first pallet manufacturer in Ireland not to use. We sourced our shredding equipment back in the early 90s with a view to having the wood fuel to fuel our own kilns on site. So we've control over that cost. And that's about giving savings back to our customer. We're controlling that cost. And another indication of controlling that cost is last summer we put in solar panels.
I was going to come on to that because I saw that on your website, because we had Kevin Maughan of Urban Volt in with us a fortnight ago or thereabouts. So we're big on solar panels at the moment.
Yes.
Has that worked out well for you?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And again, Conal, I'd love to say, sure, we knew the price of energy was going to go up in September. I'd love to say that, but it's not fair.
But you have the benefit that you're down in the sunny southeast, so you get most of the sunshine of this little country of ours.
We do. We're very fortunate. We get wonderful, beautiful sunshine. And indeed, we're an unusual little micro climate and business climate where we are near the village of Kilmuckridge in the Wells area. A lot of really good, strong businesses in tourism, hospitality. And they not only survived during the pandemic, they thrived. We've got kitchen outfit company close by to us. We've construction, many businesses, and Conal, the icing on the cake. My office is 8 minutes from Morriscastle Beach, and you'll find me there every evening after work during the summer. I feel very privileged in the business I'm in and where we're located.
It is a fabulous place and a fabulous part of the country. Tell me this: 2 questions. One is, would you ever consider selling the S word? I'm
enjoying it too much, Conal, to be truthful. Yeah, absolutely. Look, one never says never, but at the moment it's an onwards and upwards trajectory, and that's the plan. We've a lot of plans, and we've a lot more we can do in the business. And it's an exciting time.
And you love pallets?
I love pallets, and we've great customers. So we're sort of a 3-legged stool. We've a great team. You can't do, and that's the current team. But we've also had great team members that have left the company, and indeed we've some that came back. So we've team and we've customers. We've wonderful customers that come back to us again and again that are dealing with us since the 90s. It's wonderful. They're the second leg to the stool. And then the third leg is our suppliers. So our suppliers is our great AIB Bank, of course, and our Wexford County Council, our sawmill suppliers and our steel fastening suppliers. All those 3 legs on our stool are so firm and they're so tight. They make us a great business. So
I'd say it's you. A little bird told me that it was all about you, and I don't mean that all about you, but that you are that you are the driver.
Oh, it's team.
Hire in a heartbeat. Who would Mary B. Walsh hire in a heartbeat?
Oh, Conal, that's a very hard question. I admire a lot of people. My goodness, that's a hard question. But if you were to really push me,
which I am,
yes, I'd have to say Michael O'Leary, Ryanair. I really admire Michael O'Leary and Ryanair, regardless of what is thrown at him, what curved ball comes his way, what challenge comes his way. He just matter-of-factly grasps it by the ears or wherever he grasps it, comes up with a plan, and he gets on with it. And he's been hit with ash clouds and currency exchanges and many, but they're the leading airline in the world. I really do admire him. I'd love him on board. In fact, he'd actually fit in very well in Arwell Palace because he's a great love of National Hunt Racing. And my husband Shay has as well as a number of other employees in the company.
But does he love pallets?
But I think he would. I think he could. So I'd be delighted. I think we'll start headhunting him now.
I think I have his phone number somewhere. I will give him a buzz and see whether he'd like to join.
Great.
But he'd have to start at the bottom.
Oh, he would, and I think he would too. But he'd climb very fast. I've no doubt about it. He'd climb very fast. But I'd be delighted to have him on board. And he has the world's leading airline, and indeed Ireland
Lots of nice horses.
Indeed. And Irwell, I can see, could be and will be Ireland's and indeed the world's leading pallet manufacturer.
Well, somebody has to be.
So
And
we've
why not
something in
have that
common.
ambition? Exactly. I love it. I love it. Please come back to us when you are expanding again, because that's going to happen very, very soon.
Yes.
And we want to hear and about the fundraising, because we want to hear about that as well. Mary Walsh, Irwell Pallets, the boss there. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Connell, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
You're listening to That Great Business Show. ThatGreatBusinessShow.com.
Everyday accounting can be a bit of a drama for SMEs. However, BigRedCloud.com takes the drama away with its simple and easy to use cloud-based accounting and payroll software designed for SME owners. Raise and send invoices, manage VAT reports and obligations, run management reports, link directly to Irish banks, automatically import purchase invoices, and so much more. All with 5-star customer support. BigRedCloud.com, 100% Irish owned and a proud member of Team GBS.
Viscosity. When you shave, you want the highest viscosity because it helps the blade run smoother. De facto, the world's best shaving oil, has incredible viscosity. That's why De facto leaves your face, underarms, or legs nick-free. Higher viscosity makes blades last longer. De facto is the best for your skin and your pocket. DeFactoShave.com.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
Gnobio, That Great Business Show.
Regular listeners to the podcast know we love bringing you news about how to fund your business for free, our favourite 4-letter word. And today is no exception. The good people at Worldwide Digital Payments Corporation, Visa, have announced that they are giving €10,000 in hard cash to each of 5 women-led businesses. So that's €50,000 in total for their She's Next programme. Understandably, there is a competition involved, so you do have to qualify under a number of headings, but winners will also get business mentoring, which anyone in business knows can be absolutely invaluable beyond the 10 grand. One of last year's winners, Tammy Darcy of Waterford, based the Shona Project, is here to talk about how good winning was for her. And also here's Pamela Laird, founder of the Moxie Loves beauty brand. Pamela is one of the high-profile supporters of Visa's She's Next campaign, but she's also a woman who first joined myself and Jamie Heaslip back on episode 2 of That Great Business Show. Today is episode 89, so you can do the math yourselves. It's a long time ago. Pammy, get that? Welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you for having us.
That's the voice of Pamela Laird. Pam. I don't know whether to call you Pamela, Pam.
Call me Pam.
I saw in the emails you were coming in as a Pam. What has Moxie Loves been doing since we last spoke? Almost a year and a half ago. Sorry, more than a year and a half ago.
More than a year. It's episode 2. I can't believe it. So,
I had to check it.
yes, it's been a long time.
And
What
as I
have
told
we
you, you only came in here because Jamie Heaslip was here.
I mean, that is not true. That is not true. I'm thrilled to be back.
She actually admitted it was. But anyway, how has Moxie been?
Moxie's been great. So since then, I had to think about, because the days, months are blurring, but we launched into Australia, which is incredible.
Wow.
Into
When?
400 stores. It was supposed to be July of last year, but it ended up being very close to December due to some Suez Canal container issues. But absolutely thrilled. It's such a milestone for us, our 3rd export market. So yay.
That is fantastic.
Thank you.
All out of Ireland. Like,
All
you know
out
what I
of
mean? I keep saying this. There are no boundaries. There are no borders. The other side of the world, Australia. Why not?
Why not? Well, you know what? When Brexit happened, Australia, obviously the time zone was slightly different, but was just as an awkward market to enter as the UK. And they were open at the time when we pitched to them, and, you know, COVID was very low there. And I think it was just a great opportunity. So although COVID closed a lot of doors, it really opened them up, if you like, because you could do virtual pitching. And it just was smooth and easy.
That seems to be a theme today of all the other interviews I've done so far. It's kind of coming through as a theme about teams. I'm going to trip over that one again. So we'll stick with it. Tammy Darcy, the Shona Project,
Yes.
named after your sister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very personal to me, this whole organisation. But we're trying to grow it to when it becomes more than about me and Shona, which it has. So a lot of people now don't even know the story behind it and
Which is?
where it came from. Well, Shona's my sister. We're a year apart and very, very close growing up. She was the calm, cool, zen one and I was the dramatic one who was always in trouble. But when she was in 3rd year and I was in 2nd year, she was diagnosed with a brain tumour. And she had a surgery to remove it, but it left her with very severe brain damage. So she's been in full-time nursing care ever since.
And that was at 15 years old?
It was at 15, yeah.
Yeah. And hence the name of the project, the Shona Project. And its aim is?
Its aim is to educate, empower and inspire today's Irish girls to become strong, confident and curious women.
And when I looked at it, I said, kind of, ho-hum. Then I looked at the numbers. Talk to me, talk to the listeners about your numbers.
Our numbers are insane. I can't even believe
They're
it.
Positively insane.
Yeah. So, since September of this year, I've done 85 workshops in schools all over Ireland. I've reached 5,500 girls, which has brought our total up to over 25,000. We have delivered workshops in 3 different continents. Last year we delivered the Shine Festival, which was an online event because we just felt like the girls needed us more than ever. They were isolated, they were at home. So we brought together 100 female speakers, including Pamela, actually, to speak about every topic that you could ever imagine. And we had 40,000 attendees and 1 million video loads in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. It just shows there's a need for it,
It does, but you also are doing it properly. Whatever way you're doing it is what the way people want to consume it, if I can use that term?
I think what we do really well is their language, because anyone who's ever met a teenager knows that you can have all the knowledge and be as wise as you want, but if you don't connect with them and speak to them in their own language, you're wasting your time. And I think that's what we do really well, is we connect with them.
Well, your testimonials up on the website are fantastic.
Yeah.
They seem to love you. And you do seem to, genuinely, I think that you are changing lives, which is like, what value is that?
We've seen it, we've seen it. We've seen, one of the things that we do is we do a summer school where we bring girls in for a week over summer. Because in schools we get them for an hour and a half, so there's only so much you can do. But the parents at the end of that week just say, what have you done to my child? She's standing taller, she's more confident. And I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of everything that we've done, but it's just, I think it's time. And I think there's an appetite for it. And it's not just an organisation, it's become a movement. And people like Pamela and other people have supported us and gotten behind us. So it's become just huge.
And one of those supporters was Visa, because you won last year. Now they have doubled the prize. So you only got €5,000.
I'll send them an invoice for the other prize.
So you're bitter interested about that, are you?
Sure, yeah.
What did it mean to you to win?
I think when I started this business, I thought I should have all the answers, because I looked at other business people and I thought they know what they're doing. And I didn't have that level of confidence. I knew what I wanted to achieve. And I'm such a believer in having mentors around you, no matter what you're trying to do. I think, you just need to surround yourself with good people who have knowledge in specific areas that are willing to help. So certainly the funding is really important, especially for early stages. But for me, having access to really accomplished mentors that I could run ideas by.
Go and name some of them, because they'll love it.
They're actually, the ones that I worked with were in the US, because I'm really interested in crowdfunding, which isn't at the same level here as it is in the US, but I got to meet some people in the US that have done a lot more than what I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that was really interesting for me, because the approach to philanthropy in the US is very different to what it is here. But I also thought it was really important for Visa to get behind a social enterprise. I'm really passionate about social enterprise. I'm on the government implementation group for social enterprise policy and I lecture in it, and it's something I'm really, really passionate about. And I think that it's an emerging sector in Ireland and people need to know about it and again, get behind it, because people who want to create social impact, for them to build a business that's sustainable means that, we're moving away from charity and we're able to stand on our own 2 feet. So to me, just to have Visa get behind a social enterprise was symbolic and meant a lot.
And you've gone, as you mentioned, international. So it's not even, not a little parish outfit.
No.
Which I love. I love that whole thing. Pamela, Visa getting involved means what to you?
It means everything to me. I'm so about championing women in business. There needs to be more available. And I think what Visa have done, even, I don't know about you, Shona, but I had a look at the application form even last year when I was one of their ambassadors. And I was like, this is quite straightforward. This won't be too intimidating. This is accessible. This is an opportunity, not just to get funding, but to be backed and get that boost of confidence. And I think the fact that they've doubled the prize to 10,000, that is imagine to get that as a small business owner. And I think a lot of the grants and supports there are quite specific. You have to export or you have to be a certain size. This is open to all businesses, social enterprise, bricks and mortar service. There is no boundary that Visa won't support. And I think that's really important. And looking at some of the statistics, like for every 2 male founders, there's 1 early stage startup that's a female, and we need to support women. So I'm just giddy to be able to talk about this, honestly.
And you mentioned the G word there, which is a grant, because therefore it's not an income.
Yes.
And for those people to know their taxes, it means that no taxes to be paid on it. And that is very, very nice, very important, because that is true support, real support, and very, very useful. I presume, Pamela, that you would say to any female-led business, do 1, have a look at it. Probably 2, do send in your application.
Absolutely. And I think I've had a little trick over the last few years on applying for things, because it can be intimidating. And I think copy the application into a Word document, take your time. You don't have to submit it straight away. Use the language you use for your bio, for your website, copy and paste that in, play around with the wording, and then save that down. So for any grants going forward, for Visa next year, whatever, you have it there saved on your desktop, and it becomes way less intimidating, because I think that can put a lot of people off. Like, what will I say? But if you just take your time with it, the application's open till August, so you do have plenty of time, and don't talk yourself out of it. It's straightforward. It's simple. Do it. If you're not in, you can't win.
I keep telling, and I have told people for many, many years to apply for any award because it gives you free recognition. But in this one, it could be free recognition plus cash.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Cash is king.
And Tammy, you obviously, actually, I don't know the answer to this myself. Are you allowed to apply again?
Oh, good question.
There you go.
Good question.
You should apply again. Because
just
anybody who needs to know, it's called the Shona Project, and just find the website.
Yeah.
What you're doing is fantastic. So I think that it could well win again. Why not? If you can bring it even further.
But if you look at other businesses, like we're scaling at a rate of absolute knots, even from where we were a year ago to where we are now.
How many are you employing now?
We only have 3 employees, but we have about 50 volunteers.
Yeah.
We have a board who are like, we wouldn't be able to pay people like that to come in and give their expertise. So we're a huge team, but we only actually have 3 employees because it's tough to resource it. And we did a lot of applications for different grants. And I think you're right in what you say, because applying for a grant helps you to refine your message and your strategy, which is an exercise worth doing anyway. And I think what Visa do is which is rare, they invest in the people, on the entrepreneur, as opposed to what's on paper in front of them, which is great too.
And was it your experience, because again, I'm learning from you about this, is that I obviously was wrong about this, that it was local in Ireland, but no, you get Visa worldwide, as in their network, which is vast.
Huge. Yeah, there's a lot of... there's an online community, and I think the 5 of us last year were the first cohort from Ireland. So there's us and...
It was with the first one.
Yeah, there's us and thousands and thousands of others. And as I said earlier on, that different perspective and different mindset and different ideas are really worth getting involved in, because, there's more than one way to do anything, and their perspectives have really opened my eyes.
Well, I'm hoping that Visa will use the power of all their marketing, their world marketing, to promote this podcast. Not for me, for you, because I would love your message to get across to the world, and that it shows with the backing of Visa, because I presume that what you're trying to fix, and it is a fix, is applicable anywhere in the world.
Yeah, every school in every county in Ireland, every country all over the world, girls are struggling, and boys as well, but I've enough on my hands with the girls.
Pamela, mentors. Did you ever have a good mentor?
I've had loads of really good mentors.
Do you want to name that tune? Do you want to name any of them, or maybe it's unfair?
There was a fantastic mentor I had, Vincent Hutchinson. He was incredible. I was assigned to him by the local enterprise office, and he was there at the right time. I was in the middle of negotiating distributor contracts, and he came from that, like an FMCG background. Fantastic. And then, the unofficial mentors, we were just talking about that outside. You pick up the phone in a panic and you call these people. I have loads of right-hand people that I pick up the phone to every day. But I have to say, there's nothing like a good mentor, someone that you can just have either that monthly meeting or it's scheduled, or you know that they're there for that impartial advice. So that is one of the best parts, I think, of the grant that Visa are offering from She's Next, is that support for a year, a full year. And like that, you can get assigned somebody incredible from the US, which you just wouldn't have access to otherwise.
I think it's fantastic. You've already, as you mentioned there, broken into Australia. So when you come back, when I get Jamie back for a special appearance here, you might come back again and talk to me about Moxie. And where will it be then? What are your next plans?
I mean, the US, of course. I mean, I want it to be a global brand. So we've got Australia. The US would be next.
See the way you just said, I want it to be a global brand.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it, for sure.
Love it. But the US is next. So what do you need to get you into the US?
I mean, honestly, cash, probably. The US is really expensive. I have a couple of fellow brands that have launched there recently, UK-based brands, and, chatting to them, it is like quadruple the orders that they've had in a full year just supplying the UK. So it is definitely an eye-opener. It's sort of a market I won't be going to until I'm quite ready.
So when will that be? A year?
I hope next year. Yeah, this time next year I'd love to be.
So that's, I'm trying to remember, 22 we're in at the moment. So in 2023 you're going to come back here and we're going to have a chat about how it's going in the States, yeah?
Yes. Well, actually I just got an email from the US last week, so samples are on their way. But I think it probably will take until next year to get this over the line. So. And
remember, and I may have said this to you before, Connecticut wants you to set your HQ in Connecticut, and they are wide open. There's a lovely fella who will be here with me in 2 months' time called John Bourdeau. You can come in and meet with him.
I would love that.
And they will give you any assistance at all. They want Irish companies to set up there. And as you know, Connecticut is the one above New York, below Boston. So it's perfectly placed for you.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I'll come too.
Yeah,
let's go together. Yeah.
Please do. I'll bring Jamie that week as well.
Perfect. Stars are aligned, yeah.
Wham, bam. Heart and a Heartbeat. Are you aware of this, Tammy?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I have a very easy answer to this.
Okay, you go. Tammy, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Well, I have amazing people who volunteer their time for me and are so committed to what we're doing. And if, somebody gave me €1 million, I would just employ them all and create like a real big, effective
But you have to give me a name.
Okay. I don't want to annoy any of them, but there's one in particular.
That's why we do this.
There's one in oh my God, I'm going to get in so much trouble.
Okay, we'll let you have two or three.
Okay, well, Gillian Maxwell, who brought the Tiger stores to Ireland and then to the US, is on my board.
Will you ask her to come on to the show?
I'll connect her with you. Yeah. You'll have to have me on with her as well because we always hang out together. And then Orla Carmody is my chair, who's just been they've just had this vision, the same vision that I have, and they've been so behind me. But I've also met hundreds of young girls and young women that I just want, I would love to have them formally be part of our team. And if they're not available, then Michelle Obama.
Okay. Aim high. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Now, that was Tammy. Pammy, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
I mean, I was thinking about this, and there are loads of people I'd love to hire, but I think if I'm being really honest and I could pick just any one person in the world, money wasn't an issue, and I think it would have to be Kim Kardashian as the face of our brand. I mean, everything she touches turns to gold. I mean, I would have said maybe like Kanye West, their creative director, just to go wild. But I think Kim Kardashian or a Kardashian, because as a consumer-facing brand, if they endorse it, it just sells like hotcakes. So I'm my sales hat on, and I've got to hire someone in sales. So it's going to be Kim.
Makes sense to me. I'll give her a shout and I'll tell her that Pammy and Tammy would like to meet Kimmy.
Put in a good word.
Okay. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us both on the That Great Business Show. And we'll remind people again, go for that visa competition. It is a competition. And just apply. If you don't, as you say, Pamela, if you don't apply, you can't win. So
absolutely. And we're both on social media. So if you want any guidance, reach out to us. We'll be happy to give you a steer. Find us on LinkedIn and drop us a DM or whatever. Just reach out if you're unsure of a question. Always happy to help.
That's fantastic. That's an offer. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you. And that is it from That Great Business Show, episode 89, another happy hour of business pleasure. Do please share this podcast with all of your connections on social media, and do it now, please, before you forget. A click of a button for you, commercial success for us. Also, don't forget to press the subscribe button now, and then you will never miss us and we'll never miss you. And you can always talk to us directly via our LinkedIn page, just as Pamela was saying there. And a big thanks to Fiona Thornton of Grayling for helping with the visa item. Our old pal Paula Fitzsimons of Going for Growth introduced us to the fabulous Mary B. Walsh, and Kate Dobbin of Narrate PR suggested the two Waterford lads. Mila buchas to them all. Great brands like Big Red Cloud, Microfinance Ireland, Disney, Virgin Media, Udros Nagautochta, all advertise with us. Your business should do likewise. And we work with our great friends here at the Dublin Podcast Studios, including the Big Mac sound engineer, Mark McCarthy. Later, studio manager Peter Rice adds those zips and zings that make our podcast the world's best-sounding business podcast. The Dublin Podcast Studios are open for business. If you want to record a podcast, check the website and have a chat with Peter. If you'd like the media group to produce your podcast, then I am your bochel. Talk to me, please. And as always, the great business insight you hear on That Great Business Show are only made possible thanks to our sponsor, the great makers of the world's best shaving oil, De Facto, made in Mayo, sold worldwide. Don't forget to buy Business Plus magazine, where we now have a regular column all about the podcast. So from me,